We are very happy to have a group of NFT experts here to share their visions and also view on NFT market. Today we have invited Dr. Henrietta Tsui-Leung to moderate the talk for us. She is the co-founder of HKAGA as well as founder and CEO of Ora-Ora, which has been recently hosted an NFT exhibition Poetic Enigma. After the talk, there will be a Q&A section. Please type your questions in the box below. So we will now pass the time to Henrietta to introduce the speakers at the panel today. Henrietta, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome so much to join our panel discussion tonight. Welcome to all our gallerists and friends around of HKAGA. We're delighted to have a stellar roster of speakers tonight. And without further ado, let me just introduce them, and then we'll get into the discussion. First of all, welcome Ms. Jillian O Howard. Thank you so much. Gillian is the founder of Digital Art Fair in 2020 with a vision to advancing art and culture through the use of technology. Accomplished in fine galleries and museum management, Gillian has previously managed many private museum collections and international galleries in Hong Kong and London. She has also consulted museum projects in Hong Kong and China, Russia, and she studied global art business with Sotheby's Institute. Most importantly, she started the Digital Art Fair team and created a brand new art experience combining the art and technology such as blockchain, 3D mapping, VR, and AI. And we'll talk about that tonight. Next, we have Ian. Hi, Ian. Ian Liu is the partner, patent and designs practice of Deacons. Ian is admitted as a solicitor in Hong Kong and is also UK chartered patent attorney and Chinese patent attorney. In addition, Ian has obtained his legal professional qualifications certificate exam in the PRC and making himself qualified in both common law and the civil law jurisdictions. Ian has wide-ranging practices covering patent litigation, enforcement, trademarks, anti-counterfeiting, software and copyright protection, all the things we need to know, commercial IP and technology transfer, cybersecurity risks and data protection, high-tech M&A work, including IP due diligence, technology, and licensing negotiation and acquisition. In particular, drawing on his computer science and electronic engineering background, Ian advises on cutting-edge IT issues, including IT security, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, AI, and NFTs. Wow, thank you.
Okay, my mom would be proud of me. Thanks.
We are. And last but not least, I'd love to talk to you, John. John is the co-founder of this famed, recent, very, very hot NFT project, Lucky Kittens. So John was born in Beijing and moved to the United States when he was 5 years old. He studied engineering at Northwestern University and worked in the traditional finance for 6 years before leaving finance to pursue his passion for crypto and art through starting Lucky Kittens with a team of friends and ex-colleagues. He now lives in Hong Kong. And Lucky Kittens is an algorithmically generated Solana-based NFT collection composed of 5,888 pixelated cats. So this collection is inspired by the Maneki Neckles, widely known in Japanese culture as the lucky cat, 係咪即係招財貓, which symbolizes successes and fortune. Wonderful. So this is a wonderful opportunity for me to learn from all of you and for our members as well. Today we'll share a vast range of topic, which includes the journey of NFT creator of Lucky Kittens, and then we'll get into discussing about Digital Art Fair and the experience there. After that, we'll go through the legal point of view with Ian about IP, tokenization, etc. And then we also want to cover some economics and dynamics of NFTs and perhaps discuss a bit of the utility of them. And finally, to get all of you to share about your vision of it and what do you think of how the sustainability of NFT world would be like. Do you like that? Sure. Please join in the conversation. But first of all, I would like to invite John to share with us a bit about your journey in creating Lucky Kittens. It has been a phenomenon. I saw different things. I saw, I think, the tram adverts. I saw ads on in different parts on Causeway Bay as well. And that was really amazing. Please share your insights with us.
Yeah, so my name is John, and I started Lucky Kittens with 4 of my friends and ex-colleagues, and we've been involved with crypto for a very long time. Some of us have been involved with crypto since as early as 2014, 2015. I personally bought my first crypto in 2016 and have been pretty active following the markets between 2016, 2017, on and off until now. And my background is in traditional finance. So I used to be a trader, and crypto for me was always kind of just, what is going on with these tokens? Where's the whole ecosystem going? Where is the macro scale moves of crypto in general? But last year, we kind of came across NFTs. What are these JPEGs that are floating around on the internet, and why are they worth so much money? And we started actively trading them, me and my friends, pretty much March or April of last year. And then after, months of buying and selling and researching other people's NFTs, we decided to start our own project. At first, it was because we couldn't really identify with any of the other projects out there. We wanted something that we liked the look of, but that was also kind of relevant to our social circles in real life. And then that's how we started gaining inspiration for Lucky Kittens. We pretty much started this project because we wanted a project that was accessible for our friends and people we knew in real life. We never really thought it would blow up to the scale that it has, but I think part of the reason for that is because there seemed to be really big demand for these sorts of projects in Hong Kong and in Asia, and that's where most of our community is built. But pretty much when we first started, we really wanted something that we could show our friends, that we could sell to our friends, maybe give some away, and kind of start this club or this community of like-minded individuals starting in Hong Kong. And then as we grew, we kind of raised more funds. We started doing more advertising, raised more awareness, and then now Lucky Kittens is what it is today.
May I ask a little bit about the details? So there are a lot of numbers you can choose from in terms of the whether it's 1,000, 2,000, 10,000. Why 5,888?
Yeah, so I think when we first started getting involved in NFTs, the market kind of was at a state where 10,000 or 20,000 was the standard, and there weren't that many new projects popping up because people didn't know that they could make their own project that easily. And the standard number was about 10,000. There were some projects that were 20,000, and they all did pretty well. And then sort of how markets evolve is some projects try to sell out 10,000 and they can't. They realize that the ecosystem has changed. The system has changed to sort of 10,000 or 20,000 is too much. And now projects are seen to go smaller and smaller in size. When we first started, we actually wanted to do 8,888. And then we had some discussions internally about, should we do a smaller collection of maybe, closer to the 1,000 or 2,000 mark. We eventually settled somewhere in the middle with 5,888. It's not as pretty as a number as 8,888, but our other options of 1,000 or 2,000, we thought wouldn't really be able to satisfy the demand that we were seeing. And the numbers and the size of the collection kind of differ between each project, right? One of the core considerations is that the bigger your collection is, the more people can potentially be a part of your community. The smaller it is, the more tight-knit your community is. And then these things actually have a very large impact on the market dynamics of your collection. So as opposed to traditional art where each piece is kind of unique, even though an artist can make several pieces of a collection that are quite similar to each other, those collections are somewhere in the size of double-digit numbers, not in the thousands or even 10,000s, right? And a collection where there's only 1,000 pieces, for example, let's say 500 buyers come in and buy 500 of those pieces, eventually you're going to reach a state where there are no more pieces available on sale. Either that or the floor price of this collection goes really, really high. So a smaller collection, if very successful, tends to have a higher price to entry, whereas a larger collection can be more accessible to the general public, which is kind of what we wanted to do. In terms of projects that are coming out nowadays, most of them I would say are on the lower end, and it all depends on what the project is striving for, whether it's extreme exclusiveness, whether it's a collection of like 700 or 800 versus, you know, closer to that 10,000 mark. 5,000 to 10,000 would make it more accessible for new members and general public to get into the community.
Interestingly, like I'm thinking, when apart from what you're discussing, when the number in circulation is low, as you said just now, that then one day maybe there would be nothing for sale, and so then your community would be close, and perhaps like you can keep that community with a community of wider scope, like larger number. The other question is, like, yes, there will be almost always a circulation on OpenSea or other platform for Solana, but at the same time, then your community could be very fluid and they could move around in and out. So I have when I'm studying these NFT projects, I always wonder, like, what would you like to do with the community that you have built, and how is it your plan to keep them?
So ideally, I think for a community, you have somewhere between 50%, somewhere around the 50% mark is actual active users. Obviously for us, because our collection is quite large, we have much fewer active members than that. But you can actually see how many unique wallets hold your projects quite easily. All the blockchain data is public. And as of about a week ago, last time I checked, we had about 2,000 unique wallets that held Lucky Kittens. Now, an individual in real life can own multiple wallets, right? So we estimate somewhere around between probably 1,500 in that range of individuals that own Lucky Kittens. And we can also see that our biggest holders own more than 50 Lucky Kittens. And one guy actually owns closer to 100. So in these sorts of communities, you'll have different sorts of players. And I think part of what made Lucky Kittens quite successful in that sense is that a lot of us have finance and trading backgrounds. So we kind of understand the market dynamics of NFTs, which is a pretty interesting one, because in terms of people that buy NFTs, I would consider there are probably 3 or 4 types. You have your long-term investors that buy a project and hold it and try to go for the 10x or 20x price valuation on their initial investment, right? You have the flippers who get in, let's say, for example, they buy an NFT for $100 US. They might close that trade at 150 or 200 US, right? They just go for the quick flip and then they find their next trade. And then you kind of have the people who get into your community, whether they like the art or whether one of their friends told them about it, or for some reason more personal than just, you know, an investment sort of strategy. And these are the kind of people I think we really wanted to target initially. We told all our friends, we kind of targeted a lot of influencers who we thought fit our brand, people who liked cats, who liked art, who were kind of in that sort of circle in Asia, specifically Hong Kong. And these are the kind of people who, even if the price of your project starts to drop, or if it starts to rise, if they own several, maybe they sell a couple, but they will probably never sell their last piece of your collection, right? And then other than that, you have just the whales. Whales is a term that's pretty commonly used in crypto and NFT space, which are just the people that buy really big size, whether it's hundreds of NFTs or, you know, you've seen these guys that buy one NFT for millions of dollars. These are the whales, and I'm not really in a place to kind of understand what or how they pick their trades. But you have these sorts of guys, and they're actually very, very crucial to the NFT ecosystem as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. What are the factors that you would you were like considering when you structure the project? Like, one is your target market, and I mean, how do you price it? Like, what is the pricing strategy, for example, whether it should be very expensive to start or like at a lower range of price?
I think that pricing strategy is pretty simple for NFT projects. There's generally a standard range that your mint price can fall between, in which people aren't upset at you. In the past couple months, because we're a Solana-based NFT and we follow the Solana trends quite actively, the trend has generally been about between 0.5 to 1 SOL for minting one NFT. Now, Solana has had a range of between $90 and $250 in the last couple of months. So that's a pretty wide range. But generally, somewhere between 0.5 SOL to 1 SOL for a standard project is pretty normal. If you start going above that sort of range, you really need a good reason to, whether you're a world-renowned artist with insane art that, you know, is really separates your collection from a different collection. Maybe you have a reason to charge a higher price point initially. Or, for example, you're backed by a larger player in the crypto space and your rewards for owning NFTs are going to be greater than those of other collections. Then maybe you can charge, you know, 2, 3, or even 5 SOL for projects. But standard projects generally, unless you have a big name behind you, are between 0.5 and 1 SOL in a standard market in the past couple of months. And secondary market trading is pretty simple. It's a free market and it's very, very transparent. Anyone can go to OpenSea for Ethereum. The biggest marketplace on Solana is called Magic Eden. Anyone can go to these marketplaces and see how many of a collection are listed. They can see past trades. It's all listed on the website. And they can see the price of the cheapest NFTs and also the most expensive NFTs in a collection. And so the secondary market kind of works itself out. We don't really need to think about that too much. It's a free market. People can buy and sell as they please. So we don't have very much control over, you know, secondary market dynamics.
Thank you so much, John, for your insights. We'll discuss something further in a moment, but let me ask Jillian a bit about the art fair, because so while John is the heading a project, creating a project, you created the first digital art fair with your partners. We saw like lines and lines of line up and during the fair, and it just became a phenomenon. Like, and how was your experience? And can you share a bit of your journey on why you thought about starting it, and have it met your have this result met your expectation, or there's some surprises, etc.?
Thank you, Henrietta. Hi, everyone. It's really great to be back at the AGA because I used to work in their traditional gallery setting since 2010 in Hong Kong. So actually worked with the AGA before, and I'm really, really thankful to be back here and to speak to some of the members I actually worked with. So my background is that I used to work in traditional art management, and I work with galleries and museums. And the idea of digital art fair started with the thought of, you know, a lot of the daily life had changed into digital. Like, you have an iPhone, you know, you send emails, you send WhatsApp, you go online, do all your shopping mostly during COVID. And so the idea is starting to snowball and become, you know, why don't we bring some technology into the traditional art world and try to facilitate the fine art industry to the more like Web 3.0 a little bit. I actually prepared something, so I'm going to share my screen if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
So I can, yeah. Okay, great. Let me share this. I don't know why that opened up, but that's one of the highlights of the fair. And let me try to go on with this. So we did a digital art fair, and that was a quick catch up with what we did at digital art fair last year. And I think Henrietta mentioned that we're in Central by the Queen's Road, where used to be the top shop in Hong Kong. And our goal really is to share the world what kind of technology is available in the fine art world and try to bring it to Hong Kong. Because first of all, I'm from Hong Kong, and I'm really proud of what we've been in Hong Kong as an art hub here. So starting from Hong Kong, we have built the first digital art fair. It is the first digital physical and online fair in Asia ever dedicated to immersive art experience, new media, and NFTs. I believe a lot of you from the traditional art world is not unfamiliar with new media art. You know, it's always been there, like video art, animation, illustration, all this sort of things, all the sort of art that kind of created by digitalized means. And so we take it a little bit further because when I first started Giraffe Fair, I really, I sat in a gallery for a long time. I was in the traditional art business for a while. And I look at a painting and I keep looking at the painting, but sometimes I thought, you know what, I love art so much. I want to be inside the art. I want to feel kind of like, an extra connection with the art. And so that's how this idea started. We created Digital Art Fair hoping that to bring all sort of demographic to the galleries, because the first, I work in the galleries scene for quite a while, and I noticed that it's quite hard to capture the young generation's attention these days. So in order to do that, how do we speak their language of their time, which is using a lot of new technology? Maybe is a QR code, maybe is a bigger, grander digital display. So we thought a lot about how the new art collectors, the younger generation, will be interested to look at art and try to make them excited. And that's one of the reasons how we started Digital Art Fair. So following up, there's some key steps that we want to share and what we achieved last year in Digital Fair in Hong Kong. We welcomed approximately 25,000 art collectors at the fair. So that's why here said it was a queue outside. And also we sold approximately 60 million Hong Kong dollars worth of NFT. And one of the collections we work with was actually we collaborate with Sotheby's, with Rafik Anadol, which is one of the immersive room that you saw earlier. It was sold for approximately 5 million. That was wrong. Actually, it's 50 million Hong Kong dollars, that collection. So there's other stat is that we have 16 seminars to talk about the new technology and art fair, new NFT digitalization, and we have exhibited over 220 digital art pieces. This is some stat that for art galleries friends to have a look and see what we can do. And I want to share a little bit more about how the traditional art world and the digital art world can merge. So John previously talked a lot about how the new NFT trends are at the moment, and how the new generation buying NFT and how they sell it, how they store it. For me, I think about how the traditional artwork can use means like NFTs, blockchain, AR, cryptocurrency, etc., to bring the fine art to get more attention for the new generation. Because if we don't do that, the new generation of art collectors will probably miss all this beautiful art that we have always have. So now it's kind of like a transitional stage for how the traditional art world getting into learning more digital means and use the technology to do it. So we think about quite a lot about that. And the next page. So this is when I talk about how do we want to be inside the art. Usually you look at the painting, so you can see that I have a painting in the back, but I want to be inside it. I think we want to create sort of experience for the art collectors to feel like, you know what, this is one of the coolest art installation I've ever seen. So we created this.
It was quite sensational. Everybody was like lining up to take photos. I was playing with it.
We really hope to keep doing this, and then kind of like, you know, a highlight of the fair. And next year we're looking for galleries to collaborate with. So sorry to advertise a little bit, but if any galleries have a great artist and you want to do any sort of, you know, immersive experience, any sort of like new technology, we're here. And we're always looking, like, we want to look for an artist that would be able to do something like this and let our visitor to see new trends and a new way of displaying art.
So yeah, that's amazing. Jillian, may I ask you, so after those that fair, or what do you think your insight on the NFT art market, like compared to the collectibles? What are people looking for? It's an amazing number that you share, 60 million, and what are these collectors looking for in terms of NFT art?
Perfect. That's really a great question. That's what I spend a lot of time thinking about. I think at the fair we have reached a lot of, you know, like traditional art collectors who are interested in NFT. We also met new collectors who would probably never bought art before, but bought the first piece of fine art NFT. They are looking, like, the new generation of art collectors are quite interesting. They're not looking for, like, some of them even told me, I don't want a physical art piece because of several reasons. But if I can purchase a piece of art that I can see anytime, like maybe it's AR, maybe it's VR, maybe it's a goggle, maybe it's online. And it doesn't matter like how it is, it's just the matter of fact that that has an NFT, it is an NFT, it got a blockchain verification. I know that I'm buying that from a reputable seller, an art dealer that I can trust. That artist actually not much difference when you're operating in a traditional gallery setting. They came to you, they want to look for art. But I think one thing that differentiate just an NFT and an NFT fine art is that a lot of the buyers who are collectors would still like to display the work at their home. So what I mean is there could be a TV screen, it could be a phone, it could be an iPad, it could be anything. But eventually there will be a beautiful way to display the collection. I'm not saying all of them, they can have 100 NFTs in the wallet, but eventually there should be some way that you can show them in your house. Maybe a screen, maybe a projection, that I can discuss a little bit more, but that's mostly what I see currently. So fast forward to I don't want to bore you with the link on the display or the demo room, because I think that's actually available on our website. But what Henrietta was asking was that what are they looking for? And they definitely looking for something also different from a traditional setting. When you look at digital art, you're looking at new media art, where you're looking at like something that's moving, something that has music, perhaps with like sensation, different movement as well. Should I continue, Henrietta?
Sure. Yeah, please do. We still have a bit of time, but I also want to ask you the age group or the age range of these buyers who bought these $60 million NFTs, and if you don't mind sharing with us, what would be like the opportunities for galleries like our members?
Sure. So actually, our youngest art collectors, obviously he came with his parents, but he was 13 years old. 13. He was in secondary school, but he bought his first NFT. He chose NFT. Obviously, he also know how to play with cryptocurrency, which is very interesting. I think our oldest art collector was online. In my understanding, he's in his 50s. But this is the youngest and the oldest. But if our fair visitors are quite interesting, we have the oldest visitor who's 102 years old. And the youngest, yes, it was Dr. Law from the Galaxy group. And they came because they want to know what's NFT. They were super interested. We have a lot of traditional art collectors came just because they want to know what is a new trend in the art scene, which is really inspiring. we also noticed that 55% of our art collectors that came to the show was under 40 years of age. And we have a survey that was sent out after the fair. 97% of them were saying that they are interested to learn more about digital art, NFTs. And very likely, I think over 70% of them say that they would like to purchase a piece of NFT art. So that's very interesting data to confirm that what we see in the trend in the traditional art world, and obviously a lot of interest in the digital side art world. Well, back to what you say about opportunities in the galleries, and I think I mentioned to you before, Henrietta, I think this year, Digital Art Fair, we just can't wait to see what galleries, because last year we didn't manage to, we had a very short period of time in planning this from launching it. I think it was from we know that we get the value to the end, it was possibly 4 or 5 months. So we didn't actually engage with a lot of galleries. We engaged with some galleries in New York, but we did, at first we didn't know it was going to be a great success or it's going to, we don't know, but the market has proven that it worked and the model it worked. And this year, we just can't wait to see what galleries and fine art curator can bring to the market in the NFT fine art side. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be even better than what we had last year.
That'd be great. Perhaps, yeah, please go ahead.
And I also prepared a little bit trend on what we did. So we also find that a lot of auction houses have spent a lot of resources and time in doing the NFT auction. So not to mention Christie, obviously one of the first one that did the Beeple one, and then you got Sotheby's that we work with. Phillips is also getting in touch, doing a lot of the NFT initiative. We've got K11 Museum coming in March, doing a big NFT initiative as well. There are a lot of brands that started that. So from LV to Nike to Adidas, they're all starting with NFT initiative. So it's proven that NFT is here to stay. And just a matter of fact, they're finding the right method and the right platform to showcase fine art for the galleries. So I think that's a big opportunity out there. I'm not going to bore you with these details on how much the auctions were, but just a recap of what we talked about. New trends for galleries. There are a lot of marketplace available to use. One thing that we do in Digital Art Fair, we want to bring all the means for all the good things that the gallery can use. So with you exhibit a Digital Art Fair, you can come in and you can use the NFT platform. You don't have to worry about what NFT platform I need to use. How do I upload the image and everything like that during the fair? So galleries come in, you just you do your thing, you find a great artist, you talk to your buyers, and we provide all the infrastructure for you to make sure this is a successful fair for the galleries buyers. And last but not least, this is a little boring for you guys. This is what we're going to do in Digital Art Fair this year. We might not have that many screen display outside, but this is going to be more, bigger than last year what we did, and hopefully we meet the expectation of our gallery friends in Hong Kong.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And we'll discuss a bit more about your vision in a moment. But having heard John and Gillian share their experience, whether it's a fair or project creation, galleries like myself and we are from a very traditional setting, and of course there's a large amount of money involved in all this, so we're particularly conservative and conscious and cautious as well. So it's great that we have invited AGA has invited Ian to share with us some legal aspects of this whole hype. And apart from that, Ian himself is very much you're very much involved in project creation, and you have your passion in tokenization of authenticity as well. And there are a few projects that you specifically have done and can share your experience with us, including Dragon Bite and Provenientia and Artec CSA, etc. So thank you so much, Ian. Please share some of your insight with us, and we'd love to hear from you.
Well, thank you, Henrietta, and thank you, HKAGA, giving me this opportunity to share with you. my experience in crypto. A little bit about my background. Apart from legal background, I have a different previous life. Before I was a lawyer, I work in fintech, focusing in trading system before I studied law and became a lawyer. And I had a computer science degree, and kind of technology never escaped me. It's kind of like, even though I became a lawyer, it always come back to me in all aspects, right, including patents and technology and cryptography. I've been following cryptocurrency since around 2017. The last ICO booms, and now people do more IEO instead. But those are mainly startup companies trying to issue tokens for money. That was the first wave. And ever since, been following with a group of friends and also some of my classmates in universities. They're doing all sorts of projects. With regard to NFT, around this time last year, after Bebo sold his picture for $69 million US, which caught a lot of attention. And one of my friends who was going to issue tokens for IEO tokens on a so-called crypto exchange. And part of his plan of marketing is riding on this NFT hype and issue his own NFT. So let me show you a little bit of PowerPoint, if that works. So, it was very creative, and he partnered up with another Hong Kong company who has the technology of doing virtual characters. Virtual characters are basically this, to go there is a 3D image, and behind that can be an actual person. Actually, it's usually an actual person doing any actions or gesture, and it's displayed as a virtual character. And I help him to license that NFT, basically license in. He's really a technology company, license in the graphics, etc., whatever the works created out of this virtual character, and then issuing this, minting this NFT. And my friend Dragonbyte also partnered with Canvas Land, which actually they just launched yesterday, which is another platform which is quite similar to OpenSea in OpenSea, but is totally Hong Kong. It's a Hong Kong creation. So you can see that they already have a marketplace that's selling and allowing auctions of NFTs, also NFTs, and also they're into metaverse. So I've been helping them to doing wearables. These watches, if they're sold, they will be worn by avatars of metaverse characters, which is like any person who joined in metaverse. And furthermore, of course, obviously they can do virtual galleries like these. These are just displaying, if you have got NFT or pictures, they can be a virtual 3D. Actually, it's a 3D galleries. You can walk in and then display your work, etc. So these are projects that building on the utilities of NFT and allowing NFT to be displayed. It's got a bit more. It's just more than showing them off. Apart from on your TV or on your phone, you can show them off on metaverse. And another thing I've been working on is since late last year, I gave a talk with Ron Yu of Astri and also Peter Yu of Screen Guru. They are all also into arts. So one of the projects we have done is to think of a unified framework for both digital and also physical or real art. It's a bit like what Gillian described. We think art is not just limited to real or digital. They need not be separate, both worlds, into isolations or silos. They can merge together. So we can have hybrid. We think we can have hybrid arts that there's a digital means, although you have a physical sculpture or something, if you shine lights onto it, it become a totally different aspect of how to view it. So you can combine digital means and use that to appreciate art. And because of that, building on top of the idea of NFTs and also the ideas of certificates of authentication in real art, we thought of a framework that try to unify the both. So we can put real art onto the blockchain using NFT. But of course, that can link to real art as well as digital art, or both. So we think of this three T's framework. Everything, disregard of whether is real or virtual, is all traceable, is fraud-proof, is guaranteed authentic if it's verified by the art galleries and the owners and put on the blockchain, then it will be authentic. And then we use tokenization technology. There's NFT to tokenize the certificate of authenticity as well as the normal digital NFT. And then out of that is a trusted system. If there's art on that chain or in our system, it's guaranteed authentic. It's supposed to be. And with using technology like smart contract that also can help artists to collect royalties, etc. This is another use of NFT. So we've been thinking like building that framework. We have already written a white paper on this and talking to several people who are interested in that. And on top of that, we have a vision of also promoting Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is an arts center. We have many arts exhibitions like Art Basel, etc. And Hong Kong has the infrastructure. HKTDC has the system for trading of IPs. We think it is just one step forward, riding on their system, and we can start using that as an exchange to start trading NFT as well as digital art. And with that framework, we can also trade physical art as well. So, so these are some of the projects that we have been working on. And shall I go into actual legal issues or a bit early?
No. So just one question on this. Have you started, like, have you launched it? Who are the interested foundations or art creators or collectors who are on this profession, like the three?
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of people. You probably, I think Peter, you probably have been in touch with you also. So we're talking to the SCMP, etc. There were journalists who were interested in us. We were interviewed by RTHK. Ron Yu went to one of those live broadcasts. And I'm talking about our experience. So we are now at a stage. We have this concept, and we want to put that forward to Invest HK and some government initiatives. And hopefully they can, and with platform like that, can bring us to the galleries and actual galleries. Peter Yu himself has a gallery in Q9. So through that, he's also pushing this framework and an idea.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Thanks for sharing the project. And yes, of course, we would like to pick your brain on some of the legal issues. I guess it is more of something that would be addressed by lawyers, but like as John mentioned earlier about, like, you know, when we first get into this NFT realm, you see all these JPEGs. And they don't seem to be very high tech at all, like, although it's supposed to be linked to the blockchain. But just want you to perhaps share with us some legal issues and regarding NFT projects, and also perhaps in the area of perhaps IP infringements, or just some points that we should be aware of, perhaps?
Yeah, there are a lot of things I can cover regarding to NFT, but as a lawyer, I analyze it top down, right? First, we have to understand what we are dealing with, right? A lot of people would ask me, what are the NFT laws? And my answer is there isn't, right? So there isn't specific law right now regulating just NFT per se. So, and then we have to look at, okay, then what is really NFT really is? I mean, from the face of it, we see so far that a lot of art, okay, we talk about all day, generative art, and that involves software as well. And people use NFT not only linking to digital things, or like Nike, they have patents linking NFT to actual shoes. And in that you have a virtual and also real trainers, right, linked to NFT. And of course, we sell a lot of collectible as well, right? Then the first thing you need to understand is NFT essentially can be anything. So anything unique can be represented by an NFT and put it onto a blockchain. So when you start understanding this, then it becomes really, really broad question, because NFT can be anything. So if it is representing IP, then okay, IP issue will start to come in. Representing copyright works, of course, IP issue will start to come in. If it's representing an investment vehicle, then securities issue will start to come in. And at the end of the day, a lot of NFTs is just mostly it's a link to something, right? And what is important is what is that linked to. So this is my attempt to try to explain to people what, or define what NFT. Basically, it's a unique token that is representing something in the blockchain. So, and then, okay, we still don't know what it is. That means we have to look at what is really representing, how is the whole scheme structure, and how it is presented to people, right? How you're marketing it, how you're representing it, what it is, and how it's traded will influence what is really an NFT. So, and then we need to also get to from the underlying what is really is. Okay, we have been talking about blockchain. Okay, so NFTs, we have to really start with a blockchain or something with Ethereum, that kind of blockchain supporting smart contract. And here comes another confusing terminology. Okay, well, a smart contract, and for non-legal people or legal people, they would think smart contract are basically maybe a legal contract, right? But the first thing we need to clarify is it's not a legal contract. But if you really look at it, you look at a smart contract, look at the code, it's a program. Okay, so when we understand, actually NFT smart contract is nothing much other than another technology. So on top of it, from legal perspective, it doesn't mean you have a smart contract, the low law bindings on you anymore. The existing law is still binding on the entire mechanism. The smart contract is just a means of executing automatically, carrying out the transaction for you. And in the example of NFT, it's just controlling the life cycle of a token. And it's not much. And token is essentially some record on the blockchain. And what is really different in terms of properties of blockchains and smart contract or tokens is once you deploy it, it won't change. It's what we call immutability. So that's another thing raised a lot of concern, because in the real world, when you do something wrong, you have a chance to correct it. But on a blockchain, when you do something wrong, you put in the wrong price of a smart contract, you sold it to the wrong person, that is part of history, and you cannot erase it anymore. So this is a strange or essential property of it. And in the simplest example, that token is just representing the direct digital assets, like the NBA top shots, and is all the videos, if you ever seen it, the videos, they are all minted onto the blockchain onto a token. So this is the simplest scenario. But however, due to a lot of practical reason, it's not really practicable to put the actual data onto the blockchain because Ethereum is very expensive, right? Today we are talking about $3,000 per Ethereum, and it's not a lot of space. A lot of this space, etc., can be put onto a block of Ethereum. So what people would usually do is you have a separate storage to store the data, and there are pinning services like the storage services like Pinata. There are more distributed solution like the Filecoin allow you to put your artwork onto those servers, and they will make it available all over the world anytime, right? And of course, you can use a traditional web server like Banksy had used for himself, I think, but he was got hacked. So, and you put that access into the storage, and then you link that with a URL. The token essentially what we call it just a hyperlink or a URI pointing to that assets. And of course, you have all these authentication system like wallet, etc. So, and what are the main implications? There are so many, as I said. It really depends on what you are doing. It can touch on any sort of things. I've advised projects about tokenizing a racehorse, and in that scenario, a lot of different areas of law start to trigger, like gambling law or gaming law, and then securities, because you got payment. Winning or pricing going back to the person owning tokens, etc. But disregard those strange scenarios. Fundamentally, when we are looking at blockchain technology and smart contract, first we look at, okay, smart contract. Well, as I said, these are just programs. If you think of it, these are not the entire legal contract. That may be part of it. These are just programs executing what the parties kind of have agreed to carry out as a transaction, then that's fine. And on top of it, then we have to look at, there may be something that is not governed. You do not have the entire terms of sales of art written onto blockchain in smart contract. You have something else written in legal contract. So this is smart contract. And on top of that, when you understand this is just execution, a way of executing program, then other legal issues start to rise. Is when is the contract formed? Under contract law, it has to be offer acceptance, etc. How to interpret it, a contract. If you ask a lawyer to interpret a contract, a smart contract, many of them will have a bit of problem because they have to interpret source code. And what happened if there are bugs in the smart contract, right? People do security audits on smart contract, make sure once it's deployed, it's going to work as it should. And what happened if there are bugs, and what are the contractual liabilities, etc. What happened if people done something by mistake, etc. If the parties don't really want to enter the smart contract, can it be cancelled or void, right? These are all fundamental legal issues and cannot be answered by the smart contract itself. It has to be the legal framework governing the entire transaction. A bit further, and as I said, many of the NFT, they don't really, we don't really have the digital assets like code onto NFT itself. So many of it is really pointing to a separate separate storage, and that can be a website or can be the pinning service like Pinata, etc. Right? And there are if you are not using a service, then the issue of the content may not present. Banksy work disappear after the buyer bought it, and then the buyer will for about suing Banksy, and then the art the works reappear anyway. But it's just a story that Banksy may have played by himself to get attention. But this is real, because if you are not using a persistent storage, then the work or the digital assets can be lost. And what are the consequences? The buyer will, of course, right, if I pay 69 million for it, of course, I'm not going to happy. I'm going to sue, etc. And on the other hand, right, if you are using pinning services that's available, distributed all over the world, and the work or the digital assets, once it's deployed, is supposed to stay on Earth in those servers, like distributed network servers, forever. Then there are another problem is what happens if there are infringing or fraudulent activities or work that is being stored in those servers. Then there will be takedown problem if someone put an infringing photo of someone naked, etc. Right? And it's just impossible to completely remove the digital work on the distributed server network servers. So this is the takedown issues that lawyers is going to face from now on. We are still very earlier on at NFT stage to really see that. But actually, I was browsing about CryptoPunk and CryptoPunk. Many of you probably heard of it. They're very, very, very expensive, right? We're talking about could be a few hundred Ethereum for CryptoPunk, and on OpenSea there are many CryptoPunk alike. And during my due diligence, I found some CryptoPunk alike with mask on. They also pixelated mask, etc. I thought that was quite cute, and it only cost me 0.5 of Ethereum. I was thinking buying it, and then doing a bit more due diligence. I found out it was a 10 years old child, like publishing that work, and then I thought, okay, I'm not going to buy it. And then I actually I draw my own CryptoPunk, right? Based on using that as an example, they draw my own CryptoPunk, and it could be said a derivative work, or could be said copying. If someone come after me for taking that away, it could be quite difficult because it's already deployed, it's already pinned, etc. So these will be other issues that IP lawyers will face in future. It is a lot more difficult than the current type of takedown we have. So just to complete this, and there are many things you see on OpenSea. Some of that is like try to mocking Donald Trump, etc. As a photo of him. I'm sure he is not going to allow this on OpenSea. This is really infringing his portrait rights in the US. It's not rights in Hong Kong, but it's infringing his portrait rights in the US. And people take photographs of like Audrey Hepburn, etc. to redraw something and creating derivative works. And those kind of works may infringing third-party rights as well for the copyrights. And I've seen a Picasso withdrawn, etc. And sometimes they're okay because the copyright protection period is like 50 years to 90 years, depending on where you are. So the work may have lapsed, and you can start doing something derivative on it. But every time you have to look at it, what it is. You do your own due diligence and use a judgment that it's an infringing thing, right? It's an infringing work. Is that a copy of something? And with blockchain, sometimes it's easier to do or harder. You can look at as John said, you can look at the wallets, etc. You can look at the history, etc. But it doesn't give you all information. It's only part of a story. But maybe I pause from here.
Thank you so much. So for those who are listening, definitely there are a lot of legal aspects to cover, but that's the interesting thing about opportunists trying to decentralize power and trying to create their projects anyhow. So I want to cover some another area about the economics and the dynamics of NFTs. Like myself, I try to learn this thing, so I have also put on a silly trader hat for about 3 to 4 weeks some time ago, and I just was not sleeping, and I was the number 2 type that John mentioned about, like the flipper. So I try to see if I could make a lot of money just flipping NFTs, and it was just a hassle. And in some projects I made some money, and others I just kind of ended up with a wallet full of garbage. So just want to talk to John especially, and Gillian and Ian as well. What do you think, as a very experienced trader with so much experience, a lot of people, including myself, would at the moment recommend people like to look at NFT collectibles as a form of speculative instrument or investment instrument, but more so than for collection. That may not be correct, but I would love to hear your insights. That doesn't cover the digital art fair, because for digital art, like I personally kind of mentally separate. I know you may not agree, but for the ease of things, I separate the contemporary art NFTs from collectible, which are NFT projects with a cause, with a community, etc. Thank you.
I totally agree. I separate them myself as well, and I know that a lot of the collectors, art collector, like traditional art collector, who even buy NFTs, we separate them. So we call the collectibles, and we call the NFT fine art fine art. So yes, maybe John would like to just say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of opinions on this matter, and I think if we start talking about traditional art collectors, they're a completely separate sort of collector / investor than the 4 archetypes I kind of laid out for you earlier. These are people who they obviously speculate on the value of the art as well. But I think for a lot of them, and I could be naive because I haven't been well versed in the traditional art game. I'm sure part of the reason they buy pieces is because of the speculative value of the art. But I think there is much more, a much higher percentage of those sort of collectors buy the art for the actual art, for how it looks, and they can put it up and maybe they actually like the piece. And this is kind of sort of the demographic that we were actually initially trying to target with Lucky Kittens. I think what separates us from a lot of the other projects that have popped up very recently, especially local projects, is that we put a lot of effort into our art, and we actually wanted it to look good, as opposed to purely speculative or trading value. And we realized quickly that even the people that came into our community because they thought it was cute and because they liked the art, and a lot of these people we've actually met, and we've kind of know their backgrounds a little bit. A lot of them are actually artists and creatives in Hong Kong. Very quickly, these people go from I bought it because I liked the art and I like cats, to I want this thing to skyrocket in value and I only really care about the monetary value of this. And I think this is it's pretty interesting, because I think one of the reasons retail, as we call it kind of in finance and crypto, or like everyday people, don't get involved in the art world or speculation or investing in art, is because, one, there's a high barrier to entry in terms of fine art, right? You need a certain amount of money just to buy one piece. And that kind of puts people off into actually learning about it or playing at all in the game. But with NFTs, especially Solana NFTs in this ecosystem, you can buy a piece for anywhere between 50 and 100 or 200 US dollars, right? And so because the barrier to entry is so low, there's a lot of first-time art speculators, art traders, art buyers in the market. People whose opinions easily change, people whose strategy easily changes in a matter of days. And so when you have a lot of these kind of people playing, it's a completely different market than the market that I think traditionally in the fine art world we see, right? A lot of fine art collectors have been buying, selling, collecting, investing in art for decades, right? They kind of have seen the game grow. They've seen the game evolve. They've seen the market gets more efficient. You know, they have personal relationships with their dealers and galleries and other collectors, right? But in the NFT world, everyone is new, right? Even the experienced players have only been in the game for 2 years, 3 years, right? And that's like the veterans of this game. So I think it's a completely different demographic when it comes to this market, and that's why it's so inefficient, and that's why it's growing so quickly. I think in maybe 3 years, 5 years, it'll kind of have settled in, and there will be sort of, you know, there will be rules and there will be a meta game to NFTs. But for now, it's still changing every day. And anytime a collection does something successfully, there will be hundreds that copy them. And this will be the way it is until sort of something really revolutionizes it. And I think the truly successful projects that will be around in 3 years, in 5 years, are the ones that find something revolutionary, the ones that change and do something unique.
I think this topic NFT attracted a lot of people last year when some NFT art sold for ridiculously, I would say, amounts of money, and that's why it got a lot of attention. But as a technologist, NFT actually existed years before last year, and I know people who were running failed projects on NFT. There were Hong Kong companies trying to sell NFT as a marketing gimmick, and they failed flat. But what really got the attention this time around is the ridiculous amount of sales of money, and then that seems like a new thing that if you make something NFT, it's worth a lot of money. I mean NFT myself, and then someone immediately asked me how much you sold it for. I said none, because I means it myself, and this I would say is quite a high level speculation. People flipping, people buying NFT in the beginning days. When I was start working on those projects, I was looking at NFT to buy, and then start looking into the technology, etc. I mean, you go into a few phases. First is wondering why this thing worth so much, and then you figure out why this thing may worth a lot of money, because it's unique, and then you figure out everyone can do it. Actually, it may not worth that much, and you have to go back to the fundamentals, right? Who created it? What is the art? Is that good art, etc. Right? So we expect this wave is going to subdue over time, and we will go back to real utilities of what NFT are. And I believe that some of these projects, apart from arts, of course, right, they're good NFT arts, and because it's digital, we can use that in metaverse, and there are many ways of linking NFT to real assets, real things, and these will be values from this point on. And thinking about the internet, right? How it boomed like 20 years ago. If you bought something right, then it may worth a lot of money. I think in the NFT world, we are at the same stage. If you're able to pick on something right, because if you got correct Lucky Kitten, then it may worth millions down the road, and we don't know.
Yeah,
John,
sorry, can I chip in a little bit here? Because you guys talk a lot about speculating, and I think what John was trying to say is there are different ways. I look at collectibles as a completely different, era of art. Like you can't argue what is art and what is not art. So, CryptoPunks, a pixelated image, like in my understanding, the younger generation like and consider it art. It is art. Then we can't argue with that. But one thing that I noticed on digital art there is that NFT art, especially NFT fine art, is here to stay, because we're talking about Andy Warhol's artwork. We're talking about Rafik Anadol. We're talking about Matt Jones' work that who would be trusted by Sotheby's, by Phillips, by Christie's, and all this auction house has been selling them. So there are different ways to look at it. If, as I mentioned, like collectibles or a CryptoPunks project or a new pixelated art, I consider it as a new way of making art. Maybe you got Renaissance art, you got contemporary art, you got religious art, you got expressionist, you got all type of arts that people like or people don't like, and we all have a comment on what we like and what worth any money. But that's the beauty of it, right? There's a new generation of artwork that's being created. It might be as an NFT, maybe it's a painting, but eventually we just got to accept that this is here to stay, and it is already here. That's just my thought.
Yeah. And I was going to ask John, like, when we were preparing for this webinar, we talked about, we want to bring up the topic of sustainability, right? And we touch upon like Lucky Kittens. And then you did mention something like, like you feel that most of the project will be worthless in a few years, apart from some. Can you elaborate a bit on that, on your point of view? I think that's very interesting.
Disclaimer, that is a personal opinion, does not represent the of Lucky Kittens or the NFT producers or traders or ecosystem as a whole.
Okay.
Personally, I have a trading background and I've studied markets and speculative bubbles in the past, and sort of periods of mania and FOMO. And I think we're in a culture of FOMO these days. Everybody sees, people making a lot of money on social media, whether it's flipping houses or flipping sneakers, and now it's flipping NFTs, right? And the more people FOMO into NFTs, the more cash grabs, and we call them rugs in the NFT world. Rug is short for rug pull. It's a kind of an internet term for when people kind of disappear on the internet. They drop a project, they collect all this money, they promise to do all these things with this money, and then they pull the rug. They disappear, they delete the Twitter, they delete all the social media, and because nobody knows who they are, they can just set off into the sunset with the money, right? The more that people FOMO in, the more rug pulls and negative events there will be in this marketplace. And we've seen the sort of exponential skyrocket of NFT market volumes, NFT, the highest NFT price ever traded, the number of new projects that are coming out. We've seen this sort of exponential growth in crypto back in 2016, 2017. We've seen it, in the stock market as well. And it just seems to me like we're in a period of mania that is unsustainable. And at some point, it does feel like a bit of a bubble. Now, back in the day, and I wasn't really old enough to experience this, I've only really read about it. We had the internet bubble, right? And that kind of reminds me of, the crypto market now and the NFT market. The crypto market has stabilized a bit because we've kind of already seen a couple collapses of the overall crypto market. But the NFT market is so new and it's kind of just growing so fast that it does feel reminiscent of the internet bubble. Back in the day, every day you would hear about a new .com stock or a new internet company that was going to be the next, whatever, pets.com at the time, right? And then the bubble eventually popped and all these projects went to zero. And then look at it now, 20 years later, and the biggest stocks and the biggest companies in the world are companies that survived the internet bubble, right? So kind of personally, what I think is likely to happen is that most of these NFT projects, and it's not impossible that CryptoPunks or Bored Apes or one of these so-called blue chip, NFT projects, they might not be the leaders in 3 years, right? The leaders that will be here in 3 years, like I said earlier, I think are the ones that really revolutionize what an NFT is. And right now, NFTs are sort of, like I said earlier, they're kind of JPEGs. They're just pictures that you can display and you can prove you own them if someone really wanted to check, but nobody ever checks that you own an NFT, right? It's sort of, you just show it on the internet, and most of them don't do anything. And I think when the internet first came around, you know, like there were internet companies that sort of just had web pages and you could look on them and get information, but nobody really knew how to monetize it or create the sort of empire that Amazon and all these other companies have become now, right? And I don't think we really understand the full extent to what NFTs are going to be in the future. And I do think that if the bubble does collapse and most of these projects go to zero, in a couple of years, the market will rebound and people will realize which projects have value. And in 5 years, 10 years, there will be a couple projects, a couple of groups, companies, whatever you want to call them, that survive this sort of fire, and they will be some of the biggest in the world.
So what will be your plans for Lucky Kittens to sustain its popularity and its utility? And what would be the utility for the community?
Sure. I mean, we're working on a couple of things. Publicly, we are working on sort of a couple of collaborations between Lucky Kittens and traditional brands. Part of the reason we invested so much and spent so much time designing the art for Lucky Kittens is we wanted it to be really relevant to kind of the younger generation, but also visually appealing, right? I think as of right now, there are no real NFT projects that have crossed over to mainstream. Bored Apes is probably the biggest one. They have the Adidas deal. And then a couple people have heard of CryptoPunks, but none of these things have really crossed over to real mainstream culture or branding or media. And I think Lucky Kittens has the potential, because of its art style and its recognizability, to be put on, whether it's t-shirts, whether it's collaborations with, you know, already existing brands, whether it's snacks, you know, it's kind of universally, the art can be put on a lot of things. And so we're working on collabs with both brands in like F&B, as well as fashion, as well as like we're doing one with phone case maker. So we're trying to do these things to kind of push its branding and image in terms of real life collaborations. In the digital side, we're working on a launchpad. So we're going to use our experience as well as kind of our expertise in both launching a project, designing the art, making the collection, pricing the collection, as well as our experience with secondary markets. Because we have the experience doing all these things, we want to help other projects be successful. And in creating a launchpad, we can kind of generate some revenue to sustain our other business ventures, right? The point of this launchpad is we want to sort of find projects that we think are going to be successful. And one of our main goals here is we need to dox the projects that we work with. For those of you that are not familiar, doxing is kind of, we need to know their real life identities, right? We need to hold these people accountable for their actions, but also to protect ourselves. Because if we do launch a project and they end up disappearing and taking, you know, upwards of $1 million US from investors, that looks really bad on us as well. So we want to help other, you know, projects that we believe in, that we think have something real, and we want to help them launch on the Solana ecosystem. And then through that, we can kind of build out our digital portfolio as well.
Thank you so much for your sharing. Ian, also, like, what's your view on the future of NFT and how it could be sustainable? You talked about a bit, like, when we're preparing about like the hybrid life, and you were quite confident that this will become inseparable, our virtual life and our reality.
I think yes. That's what I see. What is different in this or .com bubble is a little bit from a lawyer perspective. As a lawyer, I've been fighting against technology, the technology of copying. So the technology has internet or CDs or whatever. They make copying a lot easier. And historically, the only way to try to resolve it is to have tougher laws, more enforcement, etc. But NFT as a technology is going to change this dynamics and the economics. Now we have a technology using blockchain that can prove something is genuine. And this does not stop copying, but this can ensure who owns a piece of assets, and he does own it. And because of this, we can use this as a way to represent assets on the virtual space, like in the metaverse, right? What I shown earlier about wearables, etc. As they are NFTs, if I bought one of the whatever watch, luxury brand watch, I supposed to be the only one owning that piece of work or watch, and that becomes a piece of assets, right? It's not just like a game pixelated GIF that can be copied many times. This is the one and only one, and can be traded and can appreciate it. So, and why I'm thinking the virtual world is reality, and it just happened we are meeting virtually, right? We are in a situation that we are forced to kind of accelerating this virtual world. Although we want to meet physically, we cannot, right? And there's nothing changed the development to we all become avatar. We don't need to be, right? But there's nothing changed that we become avatar. And I see people, right? Even though we are meeting virtually, I have a bit of background, right? This background, right? Hiding the stack of books and paper behind me because I don't want to show them. And it's natural, right? It's natural for people to look good, even if you are virtual. So I think it's going to build into our lives from now on. The other developments, metaverse, they just match so nicely together. The two pieces of technology. I mean, today we've been talking about NFT, metaverse. Nothing is new, but we just happen in a wave that we are pushed into that direction. So NFT is going to stay, and to me, it's not going to just representing arts or digital arts, right? There will be a lot more. We will be living in the virtual world partially, right? Not 100%. But in that virtual world, NFT will play a very, very important role. That's how I'm going to see it.
Right. Gillian, you show great passion in bringing traditional galleries with your experience and your innovation in doing this digital art fair. How can you, like, galleries and artists, how can you suggest to these galleries and artists to safely navigate in this really relatively novel arena? And can you explain to us some of the many collaborators that you are talking to and things that will happen?
Sure. So first question is, how do galleries get into a space like this? I mentioned that before, Henrietta. I think as the traditional galleries, we have so much advantage in the digitalized art world, because I believe if someone needs to dive in and buy an NFT, I would prefer buying it with someone that I trust and I know that I worked with before. It is come from physical world to the digitalized world, right? So making sure my investment, especially if I were buying something very expensive, I would like to go to Sotheby's because I know that my investment probably gonna be safer than me going from OpenSeas or going to Wearable to just shop for myself. Obviously there are price difference, as John said, but traditional art collectors prefer buying something from someone reputable. So we're probably talking about from 1 Ethereum up to 100 Ethereum to 200 Ethereum, which is what we do in digital art fair. We work with NFT fine art mostly, and work with people that we think that their project is have great potential, great artists, and knowing that the galleries and the artists that we're bringing to digital art fair is trustable and have a long-standing career. So that's what we're doing in digital art fair. And the second question was, sorry, can you repeat that, Henrietta? Sorry, you're muted.
You share with us that you are collaborating with many people, including Meta, and I just want to know some sneak peek of what you're doing.
So last year, one of who we work with, including a DSL collection and Samsung. Samsung was our partner that we worked with last year. They provide a lot of screen solution. This year, we start talking to a bunch of different people, including technology provider. Meta was one of the brand that we spoke to, and all we understand that is they are building a metaverse version of how brands would work, and there are sandbox, and there are all different kinds of more traditional brands to banks and traditional art collectors. So we have a network of we're very fortunate. We're supported by a lot of brands in Hong Kong and internationally, and I think a lot of popular developer, including to fashion brands, and like they're all very interested in NFT. And traditionally, as an art fair, we want to bring in all the clients from different industry to a fair that to experience art in a way that it probably happens once a year. So back to what mostly I think for galleries most important for them at the moment in digital art fair, we put the technology support. So we work with Meta, also our metaverse partner, to help the digitalize the artwork and bring the artwork into the metaverse, and also provide the turnkey solution. So for example, Ora-Ora Gallery have this amazing artist that you've been working with, and you want to learn how to make them like, well, Henrietta, you already know how to do it, but some of the galleries we want to know how do I mint it, for example, how do I mint it? What is a smart contract? How do you do the royalties? And how do you display it? How do you sell it? How do you confirm the provenance is correct? How do we make sure everything works when I sell the work? And when I sell the work, the collected body can have solution to display at home. So I think this is one of the biggest challenge that galleries are facing right now, because even though I have an amazing artist I work with for a long time, going digitalized for the galleries, it's taking a lot of time to research. How do I mean the work? And go on, listen to talks like this. Maybe you learn a little bit, but if you want to dive deep into the NFT space, it will still take a long time. Like myself, I started selling digital art in 2014. I used to send a USB stick to my art collectors and ask them to buy a TV screen and put it at home and put in their USB stick and put it on loop. That's how we did it.
Yeah.
Then it took me from 2014 to now, it's been 8 years for me to, learn about all the in and outs. And then blockchain, I started researching this in 2018. It took me 4 years to get to where we are right now, digital art fair. So what we can do digital art fair is to share this knowledge to all the galleries, and hoping, we create a healthy ecosystem for the galleries to getting, transitioning into the more digitalized world within the physical world. So hopefully we will be able to do that together this year.
Thank you. I hope that those of you watching have got a lot of good take homes. If you guys have some time, we'll just see if there are any questions, and I would pass it to AGA to handle this. Yoko?
So right now, I think we don't have any questions from the attendees for the workshop.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's great. So for you can always leave us messages when you digested all the good points from our speakers. So John, Ian, and Gillian, do you have anything you would like to share with us that we haven't covered tonight?
I just want to, before we end, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about sort of NFTs and competition in general. Kind of, you guys are a bit more understanding because I think you're really trying to understand this world and trying to embrace it. But I think within the art space, there's a lot of artists that are kind of really closed-minded to sort of embracing the evolution of art and NFTs and how it all ties together. And I think that the reason they feel that way is because maybe they think as traditional artists, it's gonna take away their livelihood if all these guys who aren't really artists come out and make NFTs and kind of make all this money, and then potentially takes customers away from them. I'm not sure if that's the reason, but I know that a lot of traditional artists really feel negatively towards NFTs. And in the same sort of direction, I think that in the NFT space itself, we've experienced actually a lot of, we call it FUD, but pretty much we've experienced a lot of negativity from other projects, whether they're local projects or they're kind of seen as competitors. And there's a lot of sort of sabotage and internet rumors going around all the time in the NFT space. And I think my opinion on both of these matters is the same, is that digital art can bring in a lot of new buyers and new investors and new players into the world of traditional art that might not have ever had any interest in traditional art if had it not been for NFTs, right? So I think that traditional artists have a lot to benefit from really embracing and learning more about this field. In the same way, I think that, you know, NFT projects should start really supporting each other and kind of identifying as part of the same thing, because the more negativity and the more rug pulls that happen in a space is really bad for the whole ecosystem as a whole. So I think whoever's listening in the audience, if you're a traditional artist who, you know, is a bit scared or like wary of getting involved or learning about NFTs, or if you're, you know, you're thinking about starting your own project and you kind of feel like taking some shots at another project or like telling all your friends about why another project is probably not good to buy, I would reconsider, you know, some of your thoughts on that. And, you know, if anyone has any questions that they don't want to ask publicly, feel free to DM the Lucky Kittens Instagram page or Twitter, and we'll answer any questions that you have there as well.
I just kept nodding my head, John. You said it so well. Like, I totally agree. I think a lot of traditional artists get very intimidated on the way, but again, is you know, you can ask John, you can ask me, you can ask Henrietta, and it's actually I think transitioning into the digital art world is actually not that difficult. It's really not. But finding the right people to do it together and learning from it, like I think Hong Kong Gallery Association perhaps like is one of the best platform that you can find resources and learn about what we can do. And I again, like same as John, you guys have any questions, if you for galleries members or Gallery Association, you have any problem or any questions that you want to ask us on our expertise, like, you know, for example, digitalization of your artwork, medium work, NFT, etc. Like, feel free to drop me a line.
Well, yeah, I mean, I echo what John and Jillian said. There's a lot of people want to dip into NFT art, and it's intimidating, right? All the technology and terms today we're talking about NFT without saying what NFT is. It's non-fungible token because it doesn't mean anything to any people. So there are real benefits for the project I've been working on. I can see real benefits to artists, traditional artists. One of the mechanisms of NFT is payment royalties, automatic payment royalties. That is really attractive in the digital world, and there's no reason why it cannot be replicated to the real arts world. As shown in the presentation, there may be some hurdle to overcome, like how to link the NFT in blockchain, in digital representation to something real, but there are technology to do that. And when we perfect our technique and in that link, then we can link anything to real art, right? We can just link NFT to real art, and then you will have all the benefits, or as artists, you will have all the benefits in a gallery, etc., right? And you can have automatic payment of royalties, also payment of commissions, all predefined in smart contract and can be implemented. We will be in a happier and more efficient world.
Mm-hmm. So guys, from all the experience sharing of our speakers, what I got take home is NFT and the metaverse are here to stay. There will be rug pullers, But there are in 2022, we are expecting a lot of high quality NFT projects to come about, which will be sustainable with real utility. Get ready to become an avatar and have a hybrid life of virtual presence and still, you know, staying home in your reality life. At the same time, with digital art fair and more platforms coming about, there will be a lot more players coming to help you as galleries and operators. What you need to do is like Ora-Ora. We started investing in and teaching and educating our artists since 2018, and it took me like 2-3 years to find my suppliers, my tech developers, etc. So that we seem to be able to understand what these amazing guests are talking about, and that we have a roster of great art to show you. But if your friends want to see this, don't miss it. Please go back to HKAGA socials, and of course Ora-Ora Live NFT edition will replay this. Please follow us on YouTube and our socials. And for the guests, thank you so much tonight. I promise you we'll arrange a meet and greet properly with me and the HKAGA members. So I'm sure a lot of us would like to meet you and offer you drinks and to pick your mind again. But thank you so much for your time tonight. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much.